Hey everybody. I know at this point you're generally used to hearing Luna's voice, but you know who this is. This is Mike. This is How I Nerd. I wanted to jump in real quick, and I wanted to play a short video for you guys. We're in very turbulent times right now, and as all of you know, we do not talk politics in here, but we wanted to put out a statement from How I Nerd, from all of us here in solidarity, to support a community the best way we can. So I'm going to play that video for you real quick. And from there, we're going to jump into it and let Luna do her thing with her show that she kicked me off of. So I'm going to start that now. Hey, everybody, what's going on? My name is Mike, and this is the How I Nerd community. I don't say channel because we truly are a community, an accepting and open community who welcomes anybody who wants to be a part of that with open arms. It's an extremely tough time in the world right now, and there's a lot going on. But I think if we got back to basics and we started treating everybody like they were family, everybody as one human race, you know, I think the world would be a much better place. The way I was raised is to, you know, treat everybody, you know, no matter what their station in life, you know, just how I would want to be treated. And I think that's a basic concept, but I think it really needs to be reiterated right now. We need to start respecting people's inalienable rights. We need to treat everybody like they're a human being, and more than that, you know, we need to treat them like, you know, they're a family member or a friend, because, you know, basically everybody out there is a friend you just haven't met yet. So guys, I really, really want you to be safe out there. I want you to take a minute and think about what's going on in this world and what you can do to affect change for the better on a daily basis. I live my life by the concept no 0 days, and that simply means every day I get up and I try to do something a little bit better, and we as a human race can do better. So let's do that. My name's Mike, and this is How I Nerd. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to that. Remember, we're all human. We all have feelings. We all have inalienable rights. Treat everybody like family. And Luna, here you go.
Hey, thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Tavern. Mike, thank you so much for putting that message out. Yeah, we have a super great group of people here tonight. I'm super excited about the crew that we have. A couple of people have been here before, and a couple of people are brand new to coming to hang out with us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, I am going to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Chase, because you're right below me in the frame.
Hi, my name is Chase. I am the creative director for GhostlightMedia. We're a very small podcast network where theater meets gaming. We have a couple specifically relevant to what we're talking about here tonight. We do have 2 actual play shows that I am on. I am the GM of Another Path, which is a D&D theatrical adventure. We are into our 2nd season on there with just over 70 episodes for you to enjoy. I am also a player on a Numenera podcast called Imprinted Echoes, where we are playing using the Cypher system, going through the world of Numenera in a really fantastic way. I really can't describe it. It's something real neat and real fun that we're doing. We've got a couple other shows on there, but they are less relevant to what we're talking about today.
Okay, then. Next, I'm going to move over to Ryan.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Mossberger. I play Cult on the DicePopuli podcast. I also run the social media for them. Really excited to be here. I've been playing D&D and other tabletop RPGs for a long time, and instead of forcing my fiance to listen to me ramble about them, I get to like yell at other people. So it's going to be a real market improvement for like the feedback I get.
Yes, we promise we will help with that. Maybe. Can't make any promises for everybody else.
It's a very soft
but I promise we will have fun while we talk about it. So, you know, that much I can say. David, next over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is David. I am the DM over at FromAfarPodcast. It's a D&D 5e actual play podcast. I think those are the words we're using to describe what we do now. It's it's fun. Come check us out or not. I do care, but you do you. I'm not going to force anyone to do anything. We would love to have you stop by and check us out. We have a Discord. We have a Twitter. I think we have an Instagram too. So come check us out. Hang out.
Your stuff.
And this is why Andy runs our social media, because I can't do it very well. Anyway, that's me.
Wolf's Blood says, go check him out, or goblins will steal all your socks.
That's true. That has happened 3 times to other people who did not heed my warning.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Shannon, next to you.
Yeah, hi friends. I'm Shannon. I'm from ParadiceRPG. I play over there with my awesome crew. You can find us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, and all podcast locations. We are slowly catching up with all of our backlog on there. I believe episodes 1 through 27 are up on our podcast locations, so definitely check it out if you haven't already. We play D&D 5e. We're a live stream on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern with our flagship show, Advantage in Paradise, and we have some other programs as well on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I, along with one of my fellow cast members, Tim, we host the Tim and Shannon Power Hour. And on Tuesdays, Alex streams whenever, maybe. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And on Wednesdays, eventually switching to Thursdays, but Wednesdays, our lovely DM Sean runs Relaxing in Paradise, where he talks about his gorgeous handmade maps and lore and plays some video games. And it was a lot of fun. So really excited to be here. I love the show. This is so much fun. Ready for some nerd talk.
I know. I'm excited that you guys are all here. And James, last but not least, throwing it across the pond to you.
Hi, stupid AM in the morning. I'm JamesCorp. I stream RPG stuff, generally non-D&D stuff. I've got a Mutant Year Zero campaign starting on Sunday. Next Saturday, we've got a Delta Green game with Shane Ivey and Seth Skorskowski. Have any of you ever heard of Seth Skorskowski? Oh, sorry, I'm just plugging that. Yeah, I generally do everything but D&D. I think, yeah. Look, just showcasing other games that are available. So if you're available, I reckon most of you will be watching, early afternoon, maybe late afternoon for most of you. So, that's general time that I go live is about 8 p.m. my time. So give or take 5 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So
anywhere between in there.
Yeah, sometime. Yeah. When it's
at some point during the workday here.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect for quarantine viewing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Those lo-fi beats, lo-fi RPG beats.
All right. So, chat, for you guys who have never been here before, we do take questions from chat. So feel free, if you have questions for anybody here or everybody here, feel free to drop those in chat, and our mods will help make sure that we get those so that we can answer any questions that you may have. Hopefully we'll get to them all. We actually didn't get to all of our questions last week. We had so many come in that it was kind of a nice problem to have, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm going to get the ball rolling. Normally I like to start with just kind of a silly question to get everybody thinking and get everybody's ball rolling. So here comes the math quiz. No, I'm kidding.
As I said, don't do that.
Let me get my TI-89 calculator. Excuse me.
Okay. I'm going to start with this question from Jim because it's a great one. It actually is almost exactly what I was going to ask. Jim the Dim would like to know, what is your favorite character's favorite cookie?
Wow.
Pretty good. That's a very...
I need to think about that one.
I feel like James has got to answer.
Custard cream.
All right.
Ooh.
All right.
Very nice. I feel like one of the NPCs on From Afar, his name is Captain Falcon. He is the captain of a ship. Probably wouldn't eat cookies, but he would probably eat saltwater taffy a whole lot.
Yum.
Nice.
Then go with that. Which is ironic because sorry if this offends anyone, I hate saltwater taffy.
Me too, David.
One time, sorry, tangent. I was at a parade. parade once.
That's
And- yeah, we're already off. Sorry, Luna. I was at a parade once, and there was a clown throwing out candy, and he threw out some saltwater taffy, and I was like 6, and I was like, oh, hell no. I said that when I was 6, because that's how intense I am. No, he threw out this saltwater taffy, and I threw it back at him, and this cop came up to me and was like, don't throw candy at clowns, and then walked away, and I was like, all right. And that has stuck with me ever since then. Sorry.
Oh my
Saltwater taffy.
gosh.
Quick answer.
That's funny.
Is there a such thing as a spicy cookie? Because if there is, that's what
Ginger
Scarlet would have.
snap.
Probably like a
Ginger
ginger
snap.
snap.
There you go. All right. Yeah, we'll go with that. And she's a redhead, so that works.
That works.
That works.
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
think if
friends.
Colt had to choose a cookie, it would be a
I-
black and white deli cookie.
Oh,
Yeah.
For
Very
sure.
nice.
I think my character Eatabricks would probably really like snickerdoodles.
Mm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. She seems like a
What?
snickerdoodle kind of girl.
What?
It's like
You're
a
saying stuff
cinnamon-
again.
It's yeah, I'm trying to think like how do I describe a snickerdoodle? It's
Like a cinnamon sugar cookie.
like a cinnamon
Yeah.
sugar cookie. Yeah.
Aw, so sweet.
Yeah.
They're very tasty.
It's hard for me to pick because I think my favorite character is actually one I just recently put down. Was a warlock sorcerer that I played from level 1 to level 20 over the course of 3 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I think his favorite cookie would be a Colpair thumbprint.
Is that the one
Oh.
with the little jelly in it?
Yeah, it's like like
Yeah.
a little hard cookie. It's got a little like a thumbprint where you could put some jelly in there, and Colpair is a fruit of that world. So there we go.
All right. Can I elaborate on this question? Can
Please do.
Absolutely.
I? Okay. So in England, it's quite often that you dunk your biscuit in your tea, right?
hmm
Certainly.
What would be your biscuit of choice to dunk in tea?
Ooh.
Mm.
Or coffee, or milk, or whatever you do in America. I don't know. Milk. They usually say milk and cookies. Don't you? Don't drink hot beverages.
No.
I'm not a fan of.
Thanks
hot
for having me.
I'm sorry. Okay, I drink it when I do theater because I need it for my throat. Does that count?
No.
No.
I'm gonna
Well,
go
I'm sorry.
classic. And I'm gonna say a chocolate covered digestive because those are also one of my favorite cookies personally. So
Those are
that's
good,
what I would.
actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I like your choice there. It's wrong, but I like your choice.
As long as you like it, it's fine.
Speaking of wrong choices, I might have one for you.
Oh.
There
Oh,
was
boy.
so I have a lot of relatives up in Canada, and I go to Canada a lot, and they have these little cookies are called Tim Tams, which
Uh-huh.
are
Okay. Yeah.
The name.
they're
So,
fantastic.
so they're Australian.
Okay.
And in the UK, there's a similar biscuit called a penguin bar, which is
That's a-
pretty much the same thing.
I like
They're
penguin bars
basically-
a lot better.
They're basically chocolate bourbons covered in chocolate.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
So
what is a bobbin?
Where's my biscuit?
Oh,
I'll show you in the
Maybe I
break.
should have waited for that.
but
There
yeah,
you go.
you take a Tim Tam and bite off both ends of it and stick it in hot chocolate. You can suck up the hot chocolate through the Tim Tam. And it melts and gets-
You can also do that. You can also do that with Kit Kats as well. Like if you break a Kit Kat off and bite the two ends on, you can suck.
Oh, I
Well, now
accidentally
we
will
learned
have
something
tried it.
new, and we're ending the show so we can all go try it.
I'm learning so much
that is
tonight,
bad.
and we have barely talked about RPGs.
I know. It's true.
Sorry, I took everyone off topic.
Oh, that's a great question.
All
gonna
right.
write that
Well,
down,
we
actually.
Biscoff and
Kit
coffee.
Kat
That's
yeah,
straw.
Now I want chocolate.
I know. Me too.
Yeah, but do you want American chocolate or do you want
No,
like,
European
decent
chocolate is far superior.
I don't think I've ever had it.
What, American
We'll get you
chocolate
some,
or real
Shannon.
chocolate?
I don't know. I just like chocolate.
very good.
I have a good friend in Germany, so she sends me European chocolate quite frequently, and
Ooh.
it is so much better than
It
anything
is.
we can get here.
It is much better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's strange.
All right, so we have a question now. How did you guys get started in the TTRPG community?
Pretty good. It's a pretty good question.
It is a
Yeah.
pretty good.
I'll look at the camera when I talk next time. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah. I can start us off on that one.
Go for it.
So I have only been playing D&D for about 2.5 years. No, coming up on 3 now. I think we're coming up on 3. And my DM Sean had organized a game, a home campaign, and we've been playing that for almost 3 years. And that's my first ever game. That was my first exposure to D&D. And then I got so into it because it's the best game in my opinion. Fucking love it. And so it was like after like a 10-hour session, it was like 2:00 in the morning, and we were debriefing after the session. Like we like to do that after our sessions. And we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? We should stream this. Let's do it. And we're also huge Critical Role fans. And so we got the streaming idea from them. And then we just kind of put Paradise together, and now we're here. And then I, in October, got on Twitter because all the cool people are on Twitter, obviously, and just started making some friends. And here we are with you lovely people.
Yay!
Yay!
Raise the roof. I actually have kind of a similar story, except let's see. I don't even know how many years ago now. I would say like 6 years ago now. I think I played my very first game of D&D with my little brother. One night I came home and he was sitting there he had like all these books and things with dragons on them, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. What's that all about? And then we proceeded that night to try to figure out how to play D&D on our own, having no prior experience or knowledge. And I actually just found those character sheets and I went back and checked them out, and we did everything wrong. there was not one number or even our name that was correct on the sheets. So we did that, and then a couple times throughout the next year or so we played with a couple friends. It was pretty fun. And then I moved to Los Angeles from Orlando, and during my first year or so there, I was trying to work a lot, so I was just trying to stay really busy, and I ended up so I'm a freelance filmmaker out in Los Angeles, so I ended up getting a lot of like production assistant jobs where I would just drive really big trucks around Los Angeles, which is a nightmare in and of itself. But so I had a lot of time in the car, so I basically listened. One of my friends had recommended the Adventure Zone, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna give it a shot one of these days. And I listened to like the first episode. I'm like, this is not for me. and then I got stuck in traffic, and I was like, well, I have like 4 more hours, so let me give it another shot. And I got past the first couple episodes, and I started to realize, I'm like, this is a very, very cool thing that this family has going. They are using this game to bring joy to a huge community, stay connected, and just have like a really, really good time. So I called up Andy, my little brother, who I played that first game with, and I was like, hey, would this be something that you would be interested in, like making a podcast kind of like the Adventure Zone? And he was like, hell yeah, let's give it a shot. And so me and him both come from sort of, we've gone through a couple years of improv training, and we've run a few improv teams together. And so I was like, who else would you want to get? Because we can't just do it with 2, or else we're going to have the same problem we did with those character sheets, and it's just not going to be very fun. And he thought of, or we both thought of a couple of our other improv friends, Christian Spinella and Goodval Maxson, who we've done a lot of things with. And that was about 2 years ago now, I think. And we did kind of a dry run of Storm King's Thunder, where we would just like practice recording and practice like, we're doing this like a show. And then we did that for about a year, and then we just sort of jumped into the podcast situation and jumped into Twitter, and it's been kind of a wild ride ever since then. So that's a kind of a long-winded way to answer that question. Throwing it over to you guys.
Now back to you.
Back to you.
I can go if nobody else. Oh, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I actually originally started when I was 6.
Nice.
My brother and some neighborhood kids got together and played a game. We played maybe 3 or 4 months, and then our parents found out. And this was
Oh,
late
Satanic
90s.
Panic.
Satanic. I remember as a kid, maybe 6, 7 years old, sitting on some stairs being yelled at, like with my brother right next to me, like our heads held low, being like, and my mother screaming as, I will not have satanic worship in my house.
Oh, no.
I will not have Satan worshipers in my house. I will not have this magic hoo-ha crazy stuff in my house. She used a lot more expletives, but I'm trying to be PG. But so like after that, we didn't play at all. And then I like almost forgot about it. Like I forgot that ever happened until a friend of mine told me about this Adventure League game that was going on at Huzzah Hobbies in Ashburn, Virginia. Little shout out there. And then we ended up going. I was really apprehensive. I didn't know I was going to like it. But then I started playing. I was like, I remember something like this. Not like all the numbers and everything, but the general theme is like, and it hit me when I was at the table. It's like, I've done this before. And it felt like one of those moments where a part of your life is missing and then it comes back into place. And after that point, like for the last maybe like 5 years or so, I've been hitting it hard. Like play a lot of games with my friends, do a lot of I just recently with a couple of friends started DicePopuli, kind of just putting it together because we wanted an excuse to play together, and it seemed like a fun way to do it. But yeah, it's a long time in the making, but I'm getting there.
There you go.
So I have a follow-up question on that. Does your mom know you play now?
Yes, I did bring it up. I came back for Christmas like 2 or 3 years ago, and I found out my younger brother was playing.
Okay.
They're like completely separate. He didn't know I was playing. I didn't know he was playing. My mom mentioned something, being like, yeah, your younger brother's playing that Dungeons and Dragons and like doing all that other stuff, doing nerd stuff. And I was like, thinking about it, like I kind of like had a thought in my head. I was like, wait, Logan, like my brother Logan's playing Dungeons and Dragons. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I kind of we should be playing Dungeons and Dragons together. So this was like a week before Christmas, and then I just interrogated my brother the entire time. Like, what are you playing? Like, what module? Like, what's your character? And like, I just pulling all this information of like this 19-year-old kid that obviously did not want to tell me these deep dark details of like his personal life. But yeah, it's
Fantastic.
She's okay with it now.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I got into it. So I've been playing for about 12 and a half years now. And I literally started because my ex-husband had been playing since probably D&D second edition, maybe first edition, probably second though. And so when he started playing, like he decided that he was going to get a group going at our house, which was totally fine with me because it was all mutual friends anyway. But I didn't know anything about the game except for kind of roughly that it was like fantasy and dice were involved and something along those lines. And so he and one of the other guys that he and I were both friends with and had been friends with since college was like, yeah, you should play. And I used to, like, when they first started, I would hang out like in the bedroom, like in a totally different part of the house. And then like each week I would get a little bit closer to the table. And finally, like the week before I joined, I was like in the living room, which was the way our house was set up, is the living room was right here and the kitchen was right here. And our couch was right, like I could see what was happening at the table. And so like I'm sitting on the couch with a book and I'm like, what's going on over there? And
That's
finally I'm like,
movie.
all right,
Should
that's
use
it, clear a
this
seat, like I'm coming in. And one of them bought me my first set of dice, which I still have, and the obsession only has grown from there. So yeah.
Choice.
Yeah.
I started playing probably about 10 years ago now, almost.
You're all so fresh behind the ears, all of you are. You're all like new to
It's true.
in my opinion.
Here's the thing. I also had the satanic panic parents.
Yeah.
I started asking questions about it, and my parents, like, even before I could get to a table, they tamped down hard on that. No, we're not gonna have it. Don't even ask. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So I
feel
got
that so hard.
But when I got to college, they weren't
Oh, that's
there, and my first apartment roommate's boyfriend, who effectively lived with us, was like, "Hey, I'm gonna run some D&D. Do you want in?" I was like, "Heck yes, I want in." So that was my introduction to Eberron, and I had already been getting D&D light, reading Dragonlance books throughout high school, so I was still getting my fix. It was just like but actually like diving into it. And then from that point on, with a very brief exception of about 3 years where I was living in New York and Virginia and didn't have people to play with, I've been playing nonstop. A lot of it has been homebrew RPGs. We had one group that was very much about making their own homebrew content and experiencing the stories that way. But we've the home group has moved to D&D 5e, and that has largely been a good thing. As for doing stuff online, about 3 years ago now, after listening to the Adventure Zone for however long it had been going at that point, my friends and I, a couple of us looked at each other, like, we could do that. We could do that at least as well as they could do that. We could do that. And so we started doing that. And then more of our friends started listening and said, hey, we also want to do that. And so another podcast spun off of that, and Ghostlight Media was born.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, James. So tell us, how long
because
have
it's
you been
my
playing?
turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right,
Not
back.
James.
Now I'm very curious.
Imagine back in a time before there was internet. So my gateway into like this whole thing started 89, I guess. My parents brought me Hero Quest, which was a Games Workshop MB game.
Yep.
So so it wasn't role play, but it was it did have elements from it. And then the year later I got Space Crusade, which was a 40k version. Obviously my experience is going to be completely whatever, but I then transitioned into Warhammer 40,000, the miniature war game, and doing all that. And then I got invited to a friend's house. I don't know the exact year, but it was a Christmas Eve, and we played AD&D 2nd edition Ravenloft Masquerade of the Red Death, I think is what it was. Which is D&D set on Earth. It's set during the Victorian period on Earth. And it was a blast. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was running around some back streets with a fucking ladder for some stupid reason, because I could carry it. But but it, we moved on from D&D to playing like Star Wars, because D6 Star Wars was a big thing back then, and we did Vampire. I didn't really understand Vampire early on because I was probably too young, because I was pre-teen, was a teen but wasn't angsty goth
You weren't
teen.
angsty.
So my love is I've been like GMing, because my GM the GM that we had for the AD&D game ran it for probably about 6 months before he turned around and said, right, you're GMing, you're going to GM a game before I GM a game again. So I went out and bought a book, and because I had a love for Warhammer, I went and picked up, because Hogshead had just released Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay first edition, a reprint of it. So I picked that up, and we played Warhammer for a few months, and then we played Star Wars, and then we'd take it in turns, playing like one session, one person would GM a game, the next session someone else would take it in turn to run that or GM that game. As you can see, I say GM rather than DM, because a lot of my experience is not with D&D. I did play it, I have played it. I just think that there are other games out there that do things completely differently to D&D, and you can't play every type. D&D does its thing, right? But there's other games that do their thing, and you can't interchange it. You can, but you're going such a roundabout. It's just I think it was 3rd edition that really put me off D&D, and that's why I sort of moved away from it. As for the tabletop, like the community, I got in it because of like role play with JP It Me JP and that lot, and like Total Biscuit and Stephen, they were all playing 40k, the 40k Dark Heresy game. I was like, oh, I love that game. And I started speaking to like Stephen on Twitter and some others, and I was like, oh, I could do this. I just need a better computer and internet, because we had internet, but it was crap internet. And so I started doing it. It was really hard though, because I couldn't find any players. I didn't really have the connections, and I still struggle today trying to find players for games, because unfortunately, because I'm not doing D&D, it's a niche within a niche. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're taking the big D&D and then you're going down to a smaller one. So it is kind of hard to find, but I love it. I love GMing. I enjoy trying different games. I enjoy playing, seeing how different games work, what's their strength, what's their weaknesses. If something doesn't work in one game, but they've got a strength on one thing, well, I'll borrow that and use that in that game. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I like to I'm a bit of a gaming whore. There we go.
You're a bit of a
that actually leads to another question that Orcus Dorcas asked.
Great name.
Orcus Dorcas, I know, I love that name. Would like to know, do you have another TTRPG that you enjoy playing or would like to try out?
I want to try Call of Cthulhu ever since I saw Talison's one shot, because it was fantastic. That or whatever Undeadwood was.
Yeah.
I think for me, I want to try Blades in the Dark. We were actually talking about that right before we hopped in, which is kind of funny. The other one that I want to try that I'm actually on the cusp of trying, because we're going to be streaming it as a network, is Monster Hearts.
Ooh. Yeah, I've seen that.
You got another one which is similar as well, because there's a Powered by the Apocalypse World game. The other one is you've got Monster of the Week, which is more Buffy style rather than, I think Monster Heart's more like relationships and stuff like that. Where
it's more like what if Riverdale had vampires?
Yeah.
Yeah. Powered by the Apocalypse is. It's a great system. It's really easy to gem as well. There's literally no prep. You spend about half hour doing some thoughts and writing some bits down, and then you just go, all right, this is the play, this is what's going on, and obviously awesome. As you gem, you sort of like weave it into a narrative and stuff like that. Sorry.
Yeah, I just picked up the Blades in the Dark book as part of a huge bundle.
I bought that same 1,000-game bundle.
Yeah, I think it's up to 1,500 games now. It's ridiculous.
Holy cow!
Jay Wall in chat. So he's from. So he's done a whole like spreadsheet of what's in the game, what's in it, what's it about, and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
I mean, and that's on. Like,
Jim says it's 1,600 games now.
Yeah, it's on itch.io. I think the at the risk of listing towards politics again, the bundle is for like fighting for.
It's a Black Lives Matter fundraiser. Yeah. For a minimum of $5, you can get 1,600 games.
Holy cow!
A lot of TTRPG.
A lot of TTRPG stuff in there.
Like 2 hours going through when I bought it, it was at 700 games.
Yeah, same here.
2 hours going through, and I think I got like 30 different TTRPG stuff. Some of them like specifically for one player, which I need to read how that works.
Yeah, that'll be wild.
2 players, which I really want to mess around with, and others for groups. Blades in the Dark is in that. So no, I'm looking forward to having some time eventually to go through and read.
Yeah, me too. I have a whole folder now on my desktop that's all just the stuff I've been pulling out of there. So yep, that awesome. and what was the name of it? Hold on, I gotta minimize something on my screen. Cat lateral damage.
Oh yeah. The other one that caught my eye was Lost versus Visigoths.
Yeah.
Which is another TTRPG in that mix.
Yep. So that's a it's a neat bundle. There's a lot of really cool stuff in it. So yeah, I can get you the link.
I would very much like that link.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I'll grab the link for you guys in a bit.
Because that is one thing I feel like I've really only played D&D or D&D based TTRPGs. Like I played Pugmire, which is literally just.
I'm dying to play that. That's the other one I really want to play.
Fun. Super fun. But I've been
drop the link in chat. Sorry to interrupt, but the link's in chat right now for anybody who's interested.
Oh, thank you.
I really want to try the Fate system.
Yeah,
like, I know that's
I'm playing a one shot with Fate next week. I'm so
yeah.
excited.
Ooh, yay.
Like I was doing some research on some like character creation stuff, and it looked like their like group character creation system is really, really cool, because I feel like that's one of the problems that you can run into with D&D is you'll get a lot of people who like kind of create their characters in a vacuum, and then you get them together, and it usually works out pretty well. But like you could have a group of like 6 paladins and like a druid, and like not there's anything wrong with that, but like the
do you not
what?
Do you not do session zeros then in D&D?
No, you're supposed to, but a lot of games I've DM'd, a lot of times it's like, oh, we're all busy, we all have like adult lives. Like a lot of people I've played with have played before, so they're like, I'll just do it on my own. Then we'll just bring it together and we'll talk about it. Which is, I'm gonna start in my games. I'm gonna start saying no. That's a no go. We have to get together and like.
Well, because I always take session zero as a session itself as well.
Yeah, it honestly
it helps.
It helps a lot. It definitely does. For my home campaign, we didn't do session zeros because we were all pretty new to the game and didn't know those were a thing. And then we did session zeros before the stream campaign, and there was just a world of difference. It was really great to like get some rules established and practice the character for a little bit and interact with other people. I love session zeros. I think they're essential.
I very much agree, and but that seems like with Fate, they have a pretty cool session zero type thing that I want to try. And also, I think was it last week that somebody in this show mentioned the psychedelic moose trip?
Yeah.
Yes.
I very much want to try that.
That sounds pretty great.
What?
I wasn't kidding when I said that was Alex's a TTRPG.
Yeah. So last week, somebody in chat mentioned a one-pager game that it was called like psychedelic moose.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Or maybe just moose. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Jim bought it. That's right. Jim the Dim bought it.
Jim never fails.
Moose Trip. That's what it was called.
Moose
and
Trip.
it's literally a one-pager about moose who eat psychedelic mushrooms.
I'm
There you
looking
have
it up
it.
as we speak.
Yeah, it's like $6.
It's gonna be in every single one of your shows now, Luna.
I know. It was, the conversation went downhill really rapidly once that came up in conversation.
Sorry, not to derail us.
It was really funny.
Wow.
But there's a lot of great one-pagers out there too that I'm looking to try. And one-pagers are kind of a new concept for me, but ever since I've started like learning about them, I'm like, I could like, because I don't DM, like it's just never something I've been comfortable with, because I don't feel like I do very well with having to pivot as fast as the characters pivot as fast as the characters.
Sometimes it be like that.
And so I feel like a one-pager, I could do that because it's like it's one session and it's done, So Dragon Wings Ian, who's in chat right now, he writes a lot of one-pagers. I've got 2 of them saved on my desktop right now. Nice. One of them, Shannon said she would help me run at some point.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be a ton of fun, I think. So
yeah, it is.
So we're going to give that a try. It's called, I always mix it up. It's Wagons and Wizards. So
Wagons and Wizards.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. It sounds ridiculous and I can't wait.
It's going to be a ton of fun, I think. So, and we've got a really kind of neat group for it because, like we've got a few people who are like veteran players, and then one of the guys who's going to play with us has never played a TTRPG in his life, but really wants to learn how. So I'm like, great, awesome. I can learn to DM, you can learn to play. This will be fun. So
oh man, that's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Has anyone here played the Lord of the Rings TTRPG?
Oh my god, there's a Lord of the Rings TTRPG. Don't tell Sean.
Which one? Are you talking about the Run Ring, or are you talking about the D&D 5e one?
Is it D&D 5e? Because I got
there's 2. There's 2. Well, there was 2, but Cubicle 7 lost the rights, so there's nothing at the moment. Free League have got the rights, so they're going to be doing a new version, and no one's sure if it's going to be like the Run Ring 2nd edition or whatever it's going to be. But I mean, there's been loads over the years. I mean, there was.
I got one. I think it's called. I don't have it here, but I think it's called Adventures in Middle Earth or Tales of Middle Earth.
Adventures in I think Adventures in the Middle Earth is the one that uses 5e as a base for it. I think I could be wrong.
I'll have to
I
review that.
think you're right, because I think it's a campaign setting effectively.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just looked really cool, and I haven't had as much time to dive into it as I wanted to, but I was wondering if it was not D&D 5e, but apparently I just want to try D&D 5e over
and over again, just different settings.
yeah.
Check out the one. I don't know if you can still get it. I don't know if it's still available in PDF, but One Ring's really good if you're looking for like a Tolkien-esque fantasy, like because it is. Well, it's Lord of the Rings, but it's set in Middle Earth and stuff, and that's non-D&D. But I don't know if it's available. I think they've lost the rights to it now, and it's off the market. But you might be able to find it. Someone might still be selling it.
Yeah, maybe you can find a copy on eBay or something.
Check it out, yeah.
Oh, it's going for stupid money on eBay. Don't go down that route.
Okay, well then don't look on eBay. So I'm gonna move on to the next couple of questions that came in. One came in, I answered it in chat, but I'll answer it out loud for anybody who wasn't here yet or paying attention. Mets girl asked, "Oh, hello, Gamer Mom. Are you leading your children into the amazing world of D&D?" My daughter is 12 now, but when I first started playing, she was a newborn. That's how I keep track of how long I've been playing.
So convenient.
She's 12. I've been playing for 12 years.
Fantastic.
And literally, I started I don't know. She was probably a month old when I started playing. So, so to answer that question, the answer is yes, I'd really love to, but she doesn't like to sit through a session. So when she was a little bit younger, she used to, she liked to do the fights. So we would give her, don't hate me, James, for referencing a really bad tea company in the US. You know the Red Rose figurines that come in the boxes? Red Rose makes black tea, and you can get they come with these little ceramic figurines, porcelain figurines in them. And so for whatever reason, she loved this little pink bunny that came in one of them one time. They're literally the size of a miniature. So whenever we were in battle, we would put the pink figure on the table and tell her that was the enemy and that was her character. And so she would fight. That would be her mini. And then once the fight was over, she would leave and go do her thing again. And then we'd have another fight. Okay, out comes the pink bunny. And...
Can I suggest something?
Sure.
Is she into My Little Pony?
Not anymore.
Okay, then you missed the boat then. There was a My Little Pony role-playing game called Tales of Equestria.
Equestria, yeah, I've heard of that.
And it's supposed to be really good. And I've heard it's really good. It's just, but yeah, maybe that could have been the gateway.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she likes games. She likes gaming. We have an Xbox that she likes to play on, but she hasn't gravitated back to the TTRPG piece yet. So I'm hoping maybe at some point we'll find a nice balance of stuff that she might be interested, that I might, be able to do, or, have a group of people do. So yeah.
What might help is I've recently done lunch games, which are little hour, hard finish, or hard start, hard stop hour. You get to do one or two things, and everybody's really happy with it because it's just a little bite-sized chunk. You don't feel exhausted afterwards. Sometimes you play and you feel exhausted.
Yeah.
It ends up working out really well. It's a little refreshing bit, and then you're always excited for the next thing because it's always a cliffhanger. There's never a moment that's not a cliffhanger when you're only in an hour, because in all actuality, you can walk down a hall, you can look inside a room, and you can start a fight. That's all you can do in about an hour.
Yeah, that's so true.
I mean, there's also Mouse Guard, but I don't know how child friendly that is. But it is quite the art's very cutesy.
Mouse.
So.
Yeah,
he does use Burning Wheel as a backdrop for the set.
She enjoys other types of game, other types of tabletop games, board games and stuff like that too. So, she comes to a convention with me every year. She, starting 2 years ago, last year was this past February that just happened was her second year going, and she loves that. So yeah, she's now my convention sidekick. So that's fun. Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right, the next question that we had goes back to the statement about dice, because we all like our dice, I'm sure. Do you still have your first dice? What is it, and does it have a name?
Ooh.
I still have my first dice.
That actually
Hey, get him out.
That's kind of
That
deep. I'm
was
not
a
gonna lie.
difficult one because I borrowed dice and then I bought like one of those
There,
big
you're
old
somewhere.
pound o dice bags.
There you go.
So technically, I have a lot of first dice.
I actually just found out fairly recently that I lost my first set of dice.
Oh,
And I was
no.
so sad. So like I had this little like
I love how a bunch of us
copper-
have our dice right within.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I have all mine right over there.
Like, we're all like, all
Uh,
right, let's see.
None of
You know,
these
it's
I think are
funny.
from the
My
set,
first
though.
my first set is actually black and red, just like Scarlet.
Oh, that's
Oh.
funny.
I got it, and I got
some
these
reds.
2.5 years before I started, or no, 2 years before I started playing her.
What-
Foreshadowing.
I like when you drop your dice bag, your camera literally shrinks.
Jim the Dem says, on a scale of 1 to Shannon, how many dice do you have?
Well, you can
Pretty
never
good.
have
All
too many
right. I
dice,
mean,
can you?
like, yeah, I have a problem. I just bought the Dragon's Trove from Die Hard Dice. I did
Oh,
not
I
need
wanted
it,
that
but it was
so
so much
bad.
fun. I dropped one too.
Die Hard is very, very good. I just got some,
Yeah, I love them.
some Die Hard dice myself. They're very fun.
I
The bag
also
with
just
most of
got
my
these
dice in it is like
beauties.
just out of reach, but
I
know
got
I've
these.
my stuff around.
Pound
Oh, go ahead.
dice as well.
there
Nice.
you go.
Yeah.
I
I
have,
just had. Oh, go ahead, Luna.
I was just gonna say my thing. So I started going. PAX East started just after I started playing TTRPGs, and so the thing for me, and I've actually stuck pretty well to this, is I get a new set every year at PAX East. So that's like how I kind of mark. And then I've been gifted a couple of sets. I gave a set that I bought at PAX East away to a friend of mine because those are now his first set of dice. And
Aw.
then the dice gods blessed me with my first set of metal dice at Christmas right after that. So so it all worked out.
Very nice.
But
I just got these made from Thornless Rose. They're my custom sneak attack dice.
yeah,
And
those are
I
super
freaking
cool.
love them. They roll great. I used them for the first time on Monday, and I hope we level up soon because then I get to put another one out. So, Sean, if you're watching, let's go.
Hint, hint.
Come on,
Hint,
Sean.
hint. I need more sneak attack dice.
These
Do
are
I
my
need to get my dice?
These are my current favorites. They're metal and they're from D&D WoW. And they change
Ooh.
color.
Ooh.
They-
I remember you showing me those. Those are super
Yeah,
cool.
That's
so
really cool.
it's kind of a purple color right now because it's kind of warm out, but when it's cold, they're like a deep blue, and when they get warm, they turn really purple, like the
Very
purple
cool.
in like the How I
So
Nerd logo kind of
cool.
purple.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really pretty neat. So yeah.
I don't have my first pair of dice, but I do have the dice that my fiance got me for Christmas one year.
Aw.
Oh.
They're metal dice. They're really nice,
Aw,
except
metal
I don't
dice
use
are the
them.
best.
I don't use them because I tried
Well,
to use them for a couple sessions and I never rolled above a 5. So I just
Oh,
quietly put them back in the
The
bag.
cursed.
And now they're right next to my computer as a little loving memento.
There you
of
go.
Never being able to do anything effective against my players.
Yeah,
Very funny.
my metal dice live in I backed a Wormwood Kickstarter, so I have
Very
one
cool.
of these from Wormwood, and yeah, so my metal dice live in that.
I got rid of all my original dice because they were all different colours and it really drove me mad. And then I just bought like all the same style of dice.
So that's the
so that-
question that I always ask people: is do your dice have to match?
Yes.
Yes.
Mine do.
Yes.
Kind of.
For a
There's another answer. Yes.
for a character,
Mhm.
yes,
Yes.
unless I have to roll an incredible amount of like spell damage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So, for character, I have my black and red dice, and then for just onslaught of damage, I just have all of these Chessex D6s.
There it
That
is.
Nice.
yeah, I brought
Very
'cause
nice.
I replaced all mine with Chessex Gold Leaf. I think it was what I replaced them all with. But obviously there are games out there that use custom dice, like
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Edge of the Empire system that uses
Yeah.
fancier dice, and also I buy dice if Mutant Year Zero that I'm about to start on Sunday. I got the physical dice, so if I ever want to run it in real life, it does use standard D6s, but they're different colours, so that so I bought the official dice because it will make running it a lot easier. I can go, here's a load of dice. You don't need to get any dice out. Just use these. Here's some pencils. Have a whale of a time. Do you know what I mean? It's just I just like. But I don't play in real life much anymore. Especially with the lockdown. Here
sure.
in the UK, it's still going on. People are still distancing, so people aren't going around people's houses to play D&D. But I like playing online. I like being able to play with people across the world. There isn't. I mean, fair enough. You can't replace like the being in the same room with people. But then again, there are advantages to playing online. You can, you can set up macros. You can have it all run really smoothly. You can, do you know what I mean? It's just that there are swings and roundabouts. Is that a term in America, or have I just said a bunch of words that make no sense?
I understood the intention.
Yeah. I think you're good. If we start getting a bunch of confused haws in chat, then I'll be concerned.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried.
James, can I ask you a question? Is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
You've mentioned you like to play games other than D&D. I guess it's a two-parter. What are you playing right now? And then what would you like suggest to us D&D exclusive fools who want to venture out into new games? What would you suggest, and what are you playing currently?
Good question.
So currently, so things are still in motion for me as well. So there's a lot of change happening on over on my channel and stuff. 'Cause I generally do stream games. Currently, I'm doing Star Wars: Edge of the Empire on a Monday, which is not a stream game. It's supposed to basically be me testing, getting my head around the rules and stuff like that. And it's been brilliant. I wish I fucking streamed it because it's been the best, like one of the best games I've ever run. Unfortunately, no fucker can see it.
So what was that term? I think that's a British term. I didn't understand what you said.
Okay, all right. You just it's then I've got Mutant Year Zero that I've been like eyeing up for ages, which is like so I'm a GM that the less prep I have to do, the better. And I generally just improvise most of my games anyway. I think of what I want to run. I'm dyslexic, so I struggle writing shit down anyway. So I struggle, like, putting what's in my head on paper is like one of the hardest things I can do. So I just generally make it up and improvise all the way through. Sometimes it works. I've gotten a lot better over the years. Like, I used to struggle with like the ending, like trying to end a plot line. But now I think I've got considerably better than I was. As for so we've got Mutant Year Zero, and then I've got some other games coming down the road. Like we've got Orca Stalkers, who asked the question earlier. He's going to be running a Simba Room game for me as well once a month on a Sunday, and so but going from D&D to another game, you need. That's a hard question, because I'd go, what are you into? What do you enjoy? What sort of, what interests you? Because probably you want to go as different as you can from D&D, like try and steer clear of the fantasy genre altogether, and maybe go science fiction or modern or horror or something like that. It would be down to like what you really want to see to be played, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, totally.
Like if you're just, because if you're playing fantasy, if you've gone from D&D to playing another fantasy system, it can work, because obviously there are different, fantasy is different wherever you look. It can be a completely different genre. For example, Warhammer, D&D is about your big damn heroes. You're generally unstoppable, more or less. You've got a lot of hit points, and you can like soak damage. Then you go to Warhammer, which is sort of grim and dark, and it's a bit very British humor. So it's got a lot of like black humor thrown into it, and like some of the things is like the GM will probably go, please don't look up the translations of the names, because there's spoilers in their names, because the old world is like Germanic based, and their names are like German. And if you translate the name, there's one campaign out there which, if you translate it, says villain, or his name is villain in German. So it's sort of like you lose that, but that's where the comedy lies. But so Warhammer's like very low fantasy.
I have a lot of respect for
you're,
people who play
you're
Warhammer.
like, you know, you're a civilian. You're a rat catcher with a small but vicious dog, and you know, you can't hit everything. You know, you can get done. You know, and it's all about like Warhammer's more about like the enemy with it. Well, I know that's the main campaign of Warhammer, but it is considerably more focused on like the enemy within, and if you know the Warhammer world at all, but it's more focused on chaos and sort of like the corruption of normal people rather than like dragons and stuff. Because that is the difference between the role play and the war game. The war game's high fantasy, and the role play is very much low fantasy. You're a peasant. You know, as somewhere else on the internet is there's a video that, you know, it's blood and shit. Blood, shit, and mud is the themes of Warhammer. You know, if your character's not covered in blood, mud, and shit by the end of an adventure, you're not playing Warhammer. But it also has humor. It also has, you know, dark humor and stuff like that. But then you could go completely to the other end of something like if you like Stranger Things, you can play Tales from the Loop, which is an absolute awesome. Well, there's also a TV show of that now, but you know the role play is awesome if you're interested in this and a semi-nostalgic kick of the 80s and playing like a kid that's investigating some horrific thing that's gone on, or you could like. So I'm just looking at all my games. Or if you fancy like playing a Call of Cthulhu game, which is all about madness and staving off madness and not going, you know, fall into the dribbly mess that is the Cthulhu mythos. And yeah, it's just there's just so much to pick from. It can be overwhelming, but you just need to go, what do I enjoy playing? What game is, you know, what genre would I like to have a look at? And yes, there may be a D&D equivalent for, you know, like a D&D, like when 3rd edition. Okay, so little bit of history. 3rd edition. The reason why I dislike D&D so much was that when 3rd edition came out and the open game license came out, every mum and their son was releasing a book that could be worked, which would work with the D&D player's handbook. And it was just an oversaturation of the market that they were basically trying to put a square peg in a circle hole for the games, and they just doesn't always mesh. So yeah, so there's loads of games out there. You just need to go. I'd like to, you know, what would you tell me? What sort of game would interest you? Like maybe a general.
Well, for the games I've played and the moments I've had in D&D that are really fun, like it's been like definitely in like the role play moments. I don't know if that even answers your question, but like combat for me it's fun and it's like a necessary part of the game, but it can get a little bit arduous. Yeah.
So you'd like a more narratively you'd rather a more narratively focused game, is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Can I make while you're thinking about that, can I make two recommendations?
Absolutely.
So the first one I am absolutely going to recommend. It is a one-pager called Lasers and Feelings. It is super simple.
Let's do it right now.
Yeah. Simple rules. Like the idea is that like it is absolutely like written with Star Trek pastiches. It's very good, very fun, and you can find it for free online.
Cool.
The other one I would recommend is actually, I don't remember if we were on air when we had talked about it, but James actually mentioned it at the top. And if you've listened to the Adventure Zone, you've heard it played. Monster of the Week is also very good, very fun. It's powered by the Apocalypse. The combat, I mean, if you've listened to the Adventure Zone, you know the combat is like rolled into everything else. Everything plays the exact same way. And at least for my money, that keeps things light and airy. I have not personally played Monster of the Week, but I absolutely can stand by Lasers and Feelings. I was in a campaign once where literally the GM did all of the pre-prep while we were building our characters, while the stream was going. It was,
how long did it last? How long was the campaign? How long did the campaign last?
It's a one shot. Like Lasers and Feelings is not.
I mean,
does not bear out over the long period of time. Unless you want it to.
I understand. I mean, I've played Lasers of Feelings. I played it on my birthday a few years ago on a stream, and it was a lot of fun. But it's only it's only really designed for like a one-shot game. And but if you're you're not replacing it, but you want to get a feel of a game. You want to do something which you can sink your teeth in. I do agree. Powered by the Apocalypse World, Powered by the Apocalypse World game would be excellent because it is narratively focused. You said Blades in the Dark as well earlier. That is also another narratively focused game, and it's excellent. It's a bit like, it's interesting because you don't plan out what you're going to do. You just do it, and then you go, well, hang on a minute. Last week I met with the guy on the docks, and I paid him some money, and he's dropped off some supplies for us to do this job. And and here are the supplies that I need to do this job, and stuff like that. So it's
retroactive based planning.
Yeah, it's good as well. I only had a short time playing it as well, but it was a lot of fun, and it's definitely a game I'd like to go back to play like a bit more long term. Rather than, I think we did 5 weeks of it, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
But yeah, if you're the thing with D&D is a very like combat's like a very like tactical thing that you have to like really focus on heavily. But there are a lot of games where the combat is more theatre of the mind, more narratively focused, and stuff like that. Obviously, it's down to generally the GM if they're gonna. Because I find that when a GM pulls out their map and puts a map in front of you, it stops being a role-playing game and becomes a tabletop war game or a board game or something different. It just stops. It just sort of it can and it can't. Star Wars, if you like Star Wars, the edge of any of the like Star Wars games that Fantasy Flight do are absolutely superb. You have to get your head around weird dice, but it's not that hard. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But yeah, there's loads. I mean, if you narrow it down, message me. I will give you a massive list that you can look at, and I'll give you, if I can find like, if I know anyone who does a decent stream of it or podcast, then I can link you to some of their examples of play, and you can have a look that way. But it's just there's too much. There's no such thing as too much, but there's literally there are literally games that could cover everything.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, and on that note, we're going to take a quick pause for a break. We've already made it through the first hour.
Already?
Yeah, I know. It goes super fast.
Time
So we're
flies.
going to take a quick pause so that everybody can refill their drinks, use the restrooms, hashtag free the
I
pee.
get some more.
Yeah, chat's already on it. So we will be back as soon as everybody is back from, doing whatever they need to get done. I'm going to throw a poll up in chat. This is something that I posted on Twitter this week and got a lot of really interesting answers. So I'm going to put it up here. When you're casting the spell Wish, how should it be cast or answered? Should you ask it in legalese? Is it done based on the intent of the caster or something else?
Legalese.
So I'm going to throw that up so that people can answer that.
Legalese.
And we will see you in just a couple minutes.
Thanks.
Oh, God.
Right?
Just kidding, you're live now. Ha! I don't say channel because we
It's all downhill from here. That's it. We've reached the second half of the show. This is where everything goes off the rails.
Well, I think
We're rails.
yeah. I can see them.
Okay. So the poll that I posted, legalese won. We didn't have a ton of votes, but legalese won that with 5 votes, and then intent of the caster had 3 and something else had 2. So interestingly, when I posted this on Twitter, legalese had 44.8% of the vote, intent of the caster had 43.8% of the vote, and something else had 11.5, and that was out of 96 votes.
I voted for something, or I voted for Intent of the Caster.
So it was kind of interesting. And actually, I was watching it, the first day that I posted it up, and and intent of the caster was winning pretty substantially for a long time. So it was kind of interesting. There was a lot of great conversation about it too. So
that sounds like a lot of players trying to voice their opinion.
it was a little of both, actually.
Is this a spell in D&D?
It is,
Oh,
called
okay.
Wish, that basically is like this super powerful spell, but like a lot of people like to twist the intention behind it, so you have to word it very, very carefully. Yeah. So anyway, it was just a fun thing that came up in a discussion this week in our Discord, and so I just kind of took it and ran. So
has anyone ever had Wish come up in a game?
no,
I
I never have.
No,
You
it's
have?
rare.
So not as a GM, but as a player, actually, this is probably about 2 years ago with that character I mentioned earlier on, the one that I brought from 1 to 20, we actually had that. Wish was the campaign. It was all about unraveling a higher level NPC, got a hold of Wish, and due to lore reasons, could cast it whenever they wanted.
Oh boy.
And that's a problem because for those that aren't as familiar with the spell, if you use it beyond a certain ability, you potentially lose the ability to cast it ever again, in order to prevent exactly what we were going up against from happening. And it was like a 6-month to a year-long campaign of just trying to unravel what was going on, because the characters didn't know. We had, like, as players, we had a pretty good idea, but as characters, so we had to unravel what was going on and then fix it. And it was a pretty good time. But it is absolutely Wish. I mean, if you're casting Wish as a 9th level spell, if you're casting Wish, you are already near end game content anyway as a player. Wish is not a great player spell. It is a chef kiss perfect plot element.
Yeah.
Doesn't D&D break after 10th level or something?
Something like that.
It really depends on how you're running it.
Yeah. Somebody in chat, Smug Looking Barrel, says, I created a potion of Wish and gave it to my players the second session of the game, but they eventually found out that the BBEG had planted the potion.
Interesting.
Right? That's pretty epic, in my opinion.
What does BBEG mean?
Big bad evil guy.
Oh, okay.
I think I would use my Wish spell to get that name, Smug Looking Barrel. That's a great name. Well done.
This is where all the people with the rad names in chat hang out on Thursday nights.
That's true.
It's true. All right, let's see. So break us back in easy again after the break. Mets Girl asked, do you collect /paint/play with minis? And what is your favorite of your collection?
Oh yeah, I got visuals for this. So
Here
we go. Currently painting Caleb.
Very nice.
Cool.
Caleb. Yep. And then I've got Bo next because these are my 2 favorites.
Nice.
And then I've got the whole freaking crew.
Yes,
I got a
you
lot
do.
to do. My favorite mini, though, Sean actually has is my Scarlet mini that I painted. And I did something fancy on the base. And I tried to make it look like lava, and it actually didn't suck. So I really liked it. But he's got it because when he does the maps, he uses it to play. So look for it on stream. That's my favorite one.
There you go.
I used to be into it for a while. Like my fiance, she joined the Air Force, and she had to go to basic training and then tech school. So there was like 9 months where I was kind of to my own devices. Oh. And my idea was, I'll just start painting minis every evening. And then that's what I did.
Plastic crack.
So it would be me. Like, I took over the entire living room. I like moved the table. I clamped a bunch of lights to it. I had all my stuff. I had a little toolbox that I had. And then when my fiance came back, she took one look and I was like, no, you're not doing this. This is not a thing. Because I was like, oh yeah, I sit here for like 3-4 hours after work. I paint the minis, listen to podcasts. She's like, no, we're not doing that. And you've got paint all over my table.
Oh no.
So what if you did that though? Because that sounds like such a nice night.
No, it's pretty great. I secretly want to try, because she's a little artsy herself. I very much want to like trick her some way into painting one, and then be like, oh, we could do this all the time now. But
We'll
She's
say.
on to you, huh? Is that what it is?
She's on-
So
She's
I
on to my D&D tricks.
I've showed these off on this stream before, but not to you guys. So I'm going to show them off.
Ooh.
I backed the Kickstarter for Hero Forge for the color minis.
Oh my.
So these are the
Yes.
two that I got. I'm
How
kind
do
of
they
blocking
look?
my light, but
Oh,
you know.
very cool.
So this one is my character Edabrix, who is the halfling that I play
Edabrix.
on Sunday nights.
So good.
She's kind
Did you
of a
say
badass.
Winterbix?
Yep, Edabrix.
not Weetabix.
Not Weetabix. And then this one is based on my character Evie, who is my Wednesday night character, but it's not actually Evie. So so that's that. And they look really nice. The colors are a little more muted than I would like, but I am a terrible mini painter. Like I'm really, really bad at it. So I'm okay with the fact that the colors are a little more muted than I would want, but yeah, Breaker says Yeetabricks. Yep.
Do you know how to like change it to looking better?
How?
Brown wash it.
Oh yeah.
Just get a brown wash
Yep.
the whole thing, and that will just change it up to the next level.
It's true actually.
Can
Interesting.
confirm with this little guy right here, and it's not going to show up because I am all backlit, so of course he's not going to show up. But I got this little guy, Dragonborn Rogue, that I played for about 2 years, Hero Forged, and got him all painted up well and nice. And yeah, I paint minis. We never use them in play though. We always do theater of the mind. This is just a cool little statue that I painted, and I have a little drawer full of them. I've lapsed in my painting over the past like 6 months though, just because life and like podcast stuff has taken more of a front role for me. So I would love to get back to it though, because it is
So
soothing
relaxing.
and yeah,
So
it's just
therapeutic.
like
I
seriously,
love it.
you're absolutely right. Just put a podcast
Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
paint out, like get 2 or 3 that you're gonna use like roughly the same palette for. That way, while one is drying, you can work on another one.
Yeah.
And then brown wash them all, leave them overnight, and in the morning they look amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob Ross, right? Bob Ross was so relaxing. You could be Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Just put a little. Oh, that's a little mistake. Let's go.
Happy
There it is.
life.
There's no
Beautiful.
mistakes. It's a happy accident.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself whenever I paint the scarf, what I'm supposed to be painting, the coat. It's fine. We'll fix it.
It's fine.
It's really fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Like, the only minis I've painted actually were Warhammer minis at a Warhammer store, and that's where I learned the brown wash thing. It's like I painted it, and I was like, "This is all right, whatever." And then they're like, "Here, check this out," and like you literally just like kind of dump on this like very watery, looks like dirt onto it, and it's just like, "Whoa!" This is. I'm actually trying to find a photo of it because I took it before and after, and it looks really cool. But I probably won't be able to do that because my phone is old. Anyway, sorry. Painting is great.
Painting
Wish I
is
could do
fun.
more of it.
Okay, for me, I've got more miniatures than I know what to do with. Mostly unpainted as well, but I've got a few painted, and I can paint really well.
Nice.
I've just lost a lot of patience with painting. I've got some at hand, but they're not painted. They're sort of like they're not really. I haven't really got a favourite because I don't really use miniatures in in like role playing games really. Theatre of the mind is generally what I do, and if I'm doing it online, you can't really use miniatures online. There's no way of putting it into the computer, so we use tokens. But I do have some pictures that I could share if you want to see some pictures. But yeah, I'm fairly good at painting. I'm not like what's it called, Golden Demon like level, but I can actually. It's a skill that I have learned over the years. If I post it in chat, is it gonna just like go? No, you can't post.
If you post it in the group chat for us, we will be the only ones who can see it. But if you want to, I can drop a link to our Discord, and you can post them in our Discord so everybody can see them if you want.
Cool.
I'm in the I think I'm in the Discord already.
Me.
Where-
I will drop
Sorry,
it anyway, just to be safe. There. So now if you join that Discord group, you can post them in there and everybody can see them.
All right.
There's someone I follow on Instagram. I think his
That's
name
not
is
what I wanted.
Got GM. I think that's what his name is. He's like a terrain builder, and he just like goes through his whole process and like it was painting and makes things out of styrofoam and like popsicle sticks, and it ends up looking like really, really good. I think I would want to get into that. Like I ultimately want to get into painting minis, but like there's something about building like little buildings and streets. I think
Yeah.
it would be really cool.
Yeah, David, talk to Sean about that because he makes all of our terrain. I don't know if you've seen the tower that he made. He showed it off on stream last night, but he cut with the hot wire cutter each individual brick out of foam.
Oh wow.
And glued them all together, and he used popsicle sticks for the floors, and he spent like 8 hours on it, and it like
so cool.
he just loved it. And he showed all of this off on stream last night. He made like a mountain. I believe the mountain, I think it was actual rocks, and he like painted the rocks and like put fake snow on it, and like it made it look like a valley, and we had a huge battle in between it. So talk to him. He's got your terrain skills.
Yeah, he's got mad terrain skills.
Yeah, it does.
Terrain skills.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
We're very spoiled.
Yeah.
Your guys' stream looks like awesome with all the Dwarven Forge stuff and like all the painted minis and everything. It looks great.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Dragon Wings Ian has a question. He would like to know, what techniques do you use to ensure that both the very loud and the very quiet players have a great time playing in your party or game?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't DM very often, but if I so I mean, I guess I'll take a crack at it. But when I'm playing and I notice that somebody is being kind of quiet, like I'll try and engage them in the conversation, and just try and like bring them in. And if I try and like read their body language, like if they're not feeling it, then I won't push it. But if they're just like struggling for something to say, I'll try and like help with the conversation. But yeah, I tend to be one of the very loud ones at the table, so I try and not talk so much so that other people can have a turn.
It really all depends on what kinds of players you have. There are so many different like mentalities and ethoses to have about this, but the first thing you really need to do is figure out exactly who you have at your table, not just like how they are related to you, but how they are relating and interacting to the game. I've had some people at my table who are perfectly content to just kind of be along for the ride, sit back, kind of watch everything go by, throw their 2 cents into RP, be involved in combat, and then just watch everything else go by.
And listen to the story.
Exactly. Yeah. They look like they are not having fun, and they may not be the most engaged, or at least appear to be the most engaged, but they're there and they're having a great time because they're hanging out with you and they're hanging out with their friends. Now, there are some people that you do have to really watch out and engage, keep engaged. For them, honestly, what I try to do is make sure that their characters are as hooked up into the plot as possible. That's the thing, is like sometimes it is even a matter of sitting down. It's like, okay, what am I doing for this player, this game, and have like a little checklist go on down. It's like, okay, this player has this player has this player has this. That has helped me so many times, because sometimes it's really hard to engage certain players and certain characters, and you just kind of have to devote a little bit of extra time to doing it.
One of the things that we do, well, not me personally, because again, I don't DM or GM, but one of the things that our groups have gotten really good about is that our DMs both will like pause and okay, Edabrix, what are you doing right now? Okay, Gunner, what are you doing right now? And
Sean's
really making sure everybody gets a chance to specify, like, because I'm one of those people where, I mean, I can talk up a storm, but at the same time, like, if left to my own devices, I'll just be like, yep, I follow the group. So it really calls me out a little bit, when they say, what are you doing right now? Or where is your character right now? Are you in the room right now? And then I have to sort of be like, oh yeah, am I in the room right now? Where did I go? It also helps too, because it forces me to stay focused on what's happening. Sometimes I get, distracted because like there's a cat or a kid behind my green screen or, something like that. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
She's
gotta
on my bed
agree
right
with all
now,
of
so.
that. Yeah, I think the only thing that I might add is sometimes it's helpful, especially during the session 0, to kind of like talk to them. It's like, hey, I may talk at you. I may talk to you at like in a certain voice. I'm a character. I don't expect you to return that. If you feel awkward, you can just tell me, and it won't be awkward for us if you feel awkward. And then, depending on how they kind of interact forward, it's sometimes just creating a space for them to interact. Like if they have a backstory, sometimes the quiet one has like a really intricate backstory. And if you clue in on something like that, they know their backstory. I've had players before, 2-page long backstory, but don't really talk that much. And then you say, oh, well, there's a certain so-and-so here, or there's something related to this. And all of a sudden their heads turn. And like they're a little more engaged. And even though they may not necessarily be saying anything or really interacting as some of the other people, they're taking notes and they're trying to figure out how it works with their backstory, because they've got their own internal narrative going on that some people just have that strong internal narrative where they don't feel the need to express it outward. And I think as long as you give them the space and you're just clear with everybody at the table, everything kind of just works together. And especially with everything that you guys just said, asking them what they're doing, I think that's extremely helpful as well. Like in a certain scene.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going to say. I used to have a problem when I first started GMing where I would try to have everybody be like equal parts of the story, which is not necessarily not true. Like everyone is adding to the story and contributing to the story, but like I think one thing you have to realize at some points, especially in some of these like longer campaigns, you're going to have sessions or arcs or chapters, whatever you want to call it, that are a little more focused on certain aspects of certain characters. So I used to be very like, okay, everyone's got to have that really cool like anime moment like in each scene and whatnot. And one of my players come to me and is like, hey man, he's like, you can just like leave me out of that if you want, because like I'm noticing it like it's really cool like what you're trying to put like that effort into it, but it's actually like diluting the overall story. He's like, so then what I started doing after that is I kind of like what you were saying, Ryan, was like I just make like notes on like different like secrets that each character can learn. And like if there's a part where it's like, oh, this person is like so and so tiefling is like looking like they're not having a good time, like sprinkle in a little bit of that backstory, like, oh, like this person's wearing the same robe that like the cult that killed your mother was wearing, like kind of like things like that, like so kind of like basically exactly what you all just said, just a sounding board, an echo chamber in here.
We're all too good at this.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so that's
right.
what
I agree. I also agree, because some people do just want to they may not be engaging as fully as everyone else, but they're still enjoying themselves. And I mean, at the end of the session, you can always go, I hope everyone enjoyed it, and get feedback from them off camera or whatever off session as well. And they might still be enjoying it. They may look bored out of their brains, but that might be just who they are. But I do try and give everyone like 15 minutes to shine a light on them. I try to. It doesn't always work, but I try and like get them to have a moment to shine in the limelight for a bit.
That's kind of like I have a character in one of my off-air games. Like I was surprised he wanted to play with me at first. Like he's like all into like sports and like not anything like D&D, like fantasy TTRPG like at all. And he's like, I'll play with you one of these days. And like the whole time we were playing, he was like on his phone like checking other stuff. And I was like, afterwards, I'm like, hey dude, like you don't have to, like, if you don't want to play it, I'm like, I'm not gonna force you to play. Like, no, like that was awesome. I'm like, what? He's like, no, I had like a really good time. I can't really focus on like I can't stay there for like 5 hours and like focus on these numbers.
ADHD is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
sometimes mine manifests the exact same way. Like I get it.
So I think kind of like what you're saying there, Chase, was like there's a lot of different types of players and types of
I'm a fidgeter when I play.
Yeah, me too.
I'm one of those people that I need to have something for my hands to do, or I get really like. So I have like right now, literally sitting here, I have one of those shields of hope from Word One Gaming that I like. Sometimes I'll be rubbing that, or like I have like like a piece of silly putty that sits here. Sometimes I'll be playing with that, So
yeah,
Yeah.
I just have all my.
I
notes.
also think it's like I think it's a comfort level thing too, because I think back to when I first started playing D&D, I didn't talk a lot. You know, I kind of listened, and I just really liked listening to Sean tell the story. So I would just like sit there and listen and not do a whole lot. But as I got more comfortable with the role play and with the story and figured out the rules and, you know, figured out that I made my first character sheet completely wrong. You know, just getting into that, it just became easier the more that you played.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge part of it. Like levels of experience and just levels of like. I think you said this earlier, Ryan. Like, not everyone's going to want to do a voice. So like, you might have a bunch of people like getting really into character, like doing a voice and stuff. So you're like, oh, cool. All these people are like really into it, and then one other person who's just like not doing a voice, but they're still into it. It just doesn't seem like it on the surface level. So I don't know. I think to answer like the question, I think I think you just kind of have to like play it by ear with each player. Like if you have someone who's like just completely steamrolling other players like unfairly, then you probably need to have like not any like embarrassing conversation, not like don't need to shame that person in front of everyone else, but like that's something you should probably take care of. Or if you have someone who's like not able to speak because of other people, then you need to address that. But I think
do you guys limit the number of players that you can have at the table, like a virtual tabletop or at the table? What's your
Depends on the
group?
DM, I think, or GM. Depends on how many people they want to have, what they're comfortable with.
And I think it depends on the game too. If you're going to be like, for me as a player, if I'm playing an ongoing campaign, I feel comfortable around like 4 or 5 players.
That's my magic number. 4 to 5 players.
But I think if I were doing like a like a one pager, one shot kind of thing, I think it would be probably different. So
as someone who's done an 8-person game before, it can honestly, that number of people, it can just suck the fun, because combat takes so long.
Oh my god, I can't imagine how long that takes.
I mean, it's like episodes of, I don't know if you've ever seen, some of you guys have said you've seen Critical Role. Some of their combat scenes are the entire episode. That's okay when it's like everybody's doing voice acting, it's an exciting, and they got the background music. But when it's you and like, but when it's you and a bunch of people that haven't really played that much, or they're not as interested because, you know, they're not in front of like 100,000 people, they're on their phones, and of course everybody's paying attention because it's like 45 minutes between your turns. So of course you're going to check your phone. So
how do you keep them in? So in that scenario, how do you keep them engaged?
Well, in my scenario, I really didn't. I got lucky in that one. Like some people, my fiance was part of that. I like bugged her, and then about two or so sessions, like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. I love you so much, but never again. And she dropped out, and then I think 1 or 2 other people dropped out. And then once we got to like that magical number, right around 5, it started to work. You know, people were finding their roles inside the party. Combat didn't take forever, and it was able to kind of focus and disperse the attention kind of equally. Because if there's 8 people, when you think about it, over the course of like 3 or 4 hours, you're only spending maybe like 20 minutes on each person, if that, because you could. So it allowed me to focus in. I now almost exclusively do about like 5-6 people maximum.
Is this online or offline?
Both. I do online stuff and I do offline stuff.
Do you find that if you have more than 5 online, it's harder than it is in real life, like when you're in an actual group? That's what I found. I found that you can generally get away with 6 on when you're face to face, or in meet space, I guess you could call it. But,
I agree 100%. I think especially like I use Roll20. I don't know what you guys use. I think just the people not being in the room, I can't necessarily like hone in focus. Like if I see somebody's dragging, I can be like, hey, here's a rope, like come back into the story a little bit. But I mean, even if you play with video, they're all just staring at their screen, but it could be like CNN, or it could be Roll20. You have no idea. So I do have that disconnect when I play online. It does feel harder to gain attention and keep it, for sure.
I actually have a very similar experience. I GM, so that group, the 3-year-long campaign one, that one closed out, and I closed it out with I somebody ran for a year or more than a year, and then I took it to the hoop for the last 2 games and took the characters to 20.
Nice.
But yeah, it was 8 players at that point. The group has actually gotten bigger since then, now that we've all started new characters, because everybody wants to play, and everybody has the time to play now because the world's in a really weird spot.
Yeah.
But honestly, to echo what you said, like online makes it so much harder, because the other thing about being in person is that when you are working with one player, you can say, hey, you 3, you all went to the market, go hang out in the other room, RP for a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna, because that's what we do. We have one friend who we've been running games at her place for, going on like 4 or 5 years at this point, and like she just keeps her place, like, she's an incredibly giving person, and keeps her place super clean so that there are 2 free bedrooms to go hang out and RP in when other stuff is going on. And that makes, and that's why that we are even possible, like why we're at a 10-person campaign now. That's why that's even conceivable, is because we do have that. Combat is still a mess. Not gonna, there's no way around that. I am playing Would
it not be easy to split the party into 2 smaller groups?
It would, but people were not interested in that. That option was presented, and everyone was like, no, we all want to play together. It's like, okay.
All right, then.
It's also the other question of needing a secondary GM, particularly somebody who has the ability and the time throughout their week in order to set something up. Ideally, somebody who's not, might not be about to move, which we have a couple of people in that situation. We've got some people who are on call for jobs. It is, especially with everything going on, a lot of people's situations are kind of up in the air. And I will say, I said combat is a mess. That is at no fault of the GM. The GM is doing a fantastic job. It is just a math game. And math quiz. No.
No.
The math quiz breaks out that when combat happens, you get to play D&D for about 5 minutes out of every hour.
Wow. That makes sense. It's wild.
Yep.
Wow.
But
my head would explode.
But for my money, I think I agree. Like that honestly, I think 3 to 6 is a pretty good, like, for running a podcast. If anybody's interested in doing that, I think the 3 players and a GM is just absolutely, like, that was my sweet spot. I like that. Out of, you have a 4th spot open if you want to have a guest from time to time, but honestly, like, that 3, and what we haven't mentioned is one-on-one D&D, especially if you're used to it, or one-on-one TTRPGs. Some of the most fun I've had.
Really?
I've never done one of those before.
It sounds wild.
It's so fun. Yeah, one-on-one. That is honestly how I like to teach people how to play.
Yeah.
I have an adventure that I've got made up that is effectively a Hogwarts adventure. Like, you go to Wizard College.
Love it.
Yeah, 4 years at Wizard College, and it teaches you how to play a spellcaster. So if you want to play a bard or a sorcerer or anything like that, like, it's perfect for you, and I can retrofit it to be anything else I want. But that is how I like to teach. Yeah.
So it's actually a really common thing in 2nd E. I collect old D&D books. They used to have like little single person adventures, like how to train somebody. Like, say you have a friend, because they used to be, you wouldn't jump in at like 5th level. You had to start at 1st level. Right. And you had to build up. So it's like, oh, I've got a game of 3rd level people, but I can't just give you 3 levels. They earned it. So what we're going to do is, over the course of a weekend, we're going to sit down and do this one-on-one adventure together. And then you'll be 3rd level, and then you can join the party.
That's actually that's really cool.
Well, some older games used to do like, so rather than like, oh, here's an example of play, they used to have in the books you take yourself through a story, like almost choose your own adventure using the rules of the game, and you'd roll it. And I think there's one for Call of Cthulhu as well. I can't remember the name of it, but there's an entire book that you can run through a single run through yourself as a solo game, doing the roles and like, if you succeed, go to page 23 or something. Choose your own adventure. Like, what were they called? What was it? Fighting Fantasy and stuff like that. Those sort of things. But
Oh, I
yeah,
have a bunch
that's
of your adventure books.
that's-
Are you talking about the old ones? I have a couple.
yeah, and stuff. But they used to do that in some of the core rule books that you used to be able to get. Like one that I remember the most is like in DC Heroes from back in the early 90s. There was like a whole like you was playing as Batman, and you was like having to get into this warehouse where people were like breaking in, they're breaking in trying to steal stuff, and you've got options like you jump down from the ceiling and like throw your put your cape out and like try and scare the crap out of them like Batman does, or you can and then kick the shit out of the rest of them. But they don't really do that anymore. When was this? This would be like early 90s, I guess, when that came out. But yeah, it does exist, and it's I've played in a campaign like that I've run where I've had like this is before I started doing session zeros, but we'd have like one-on-one sessions for each player over the week or however long it took. Mate, back in the day when I was a school kid, I had more free time, if you know what I mean. But I'd take them through like one-on-one adventures and then meet them up usually a tavern, because cliches are for a reason. But yeah, I've done that before. But
it's awesome. I feel like that's super important. If you can't do a session zero, if you can have like just a little one-on-one time with each of your characters, even if it's just like talking, because like we From Afar, we kind of did that. We did our very first session completely off air, and then when we started the show, it's like we kind of got that awkwardness out of the way, and like each of the characters had a little bit of experience.
That's what we did too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have done that, and it kind of like what you were just saying there, James. It gives you like just some experience to either know your player, know your class, or like know your group just a little bit more. I think that's
and try an accent if you wanted to do one.
Yeah.
Well, my accents are awful. They just end up Cockney something add on verb here. So it doesn't really matter what I do. It could be a Cockney Frenchman because they'll become Cockney in the end. Cockney robot.
It must exist, right? Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it is equivalent. But how many is it? Who doesn't GM or hasn't GM'd?
I've DM'd for kids at school because I ran when we were still at school, which seems like a fucking million years ago. But we played. I would DM for them. I ran like a lunchtime club for them. So every other week when I didn't have recess duty, I would take them once a week for their lunch and recess hour, and we would play. I ran Lost Mines for them, and I'm not very good at it. I was very loosey-goosey with the rules. I let them get away with shit that I probably shouldn't have, because when they play for real, they're going to be like, well, Mrs. Roby, let me do that. And so, but the things they came up with, it was just amazing. If my wizard wasn't trying to set things on fire, which he tried to do and thought it was funny, but my barbarian and my wizard were like, can we cast spells together and combine them? And I was like, tell me more. So the wizard wanted to cast magic missile, and then the dragonborn wanted to breathe on them so that they would be flaming magic missiles. And I said, sure, it happens. Why not?
Cool, man. Rules
Yeah, right. Cool.
At that point, you slam the table. We're raw here.
Play by the rules.
Yeah, right.
So my lead-on question is: do you think everyone should have tried DMing/GMing, or whatever you want to call the GM in that particular game?
I think so.
So they understand just how much work
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
I've had a bit of problem with a few problems with one of my players off air. He's come at me with a couple really strange, like, I don't know, like one time he was like, hey, I'm playing a tiefling and you're not like treating them badly. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I picked this class because I wanted to like experience what that would be like. I wanted to get a little bit of empathy in that. So like, you're not playing into that. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Never had that before. We need to talk about this off air. And then he's brought some other stuff up. Like very, very rules heavy, and like every time like I get a rule wrong, he's always just like, boom, okay, cool, you did that wrong. This is why you did it wrong. This is how you like, and like, so like I think in that with that being said, I think everyone should have a chance to DM, GM, run a game, whatever, because there are certain things that either your game master or dungeon master is doing, and it might seem like they're breaking the rules, or it might seem like they're ignoring something, or it might seem like something is going wrong when it's not. So like when you're a player, you're just watching from that one side, which is fine, and like the rules there for a reason. They're supposed to be followed, but like only not being able to see the grander picture of things. Oh, don't get me wrong. I don't know any of the rules of D&D, and I run a podcast, so don't feel too bad about that. But
I also think it's like being in community theater or theater in general. You should work backstage, and you should also perform. You should have both perspectives so that you know what it takes to run the whole show. Yeah, and I think it gives you more. More, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, a rounder perspective. Yeah. It's just like more appreciation for the whole thing.
There it is. That's the one.
Yeah, because I mean, it's easy as a player to be like, oh, well, you got that rule wrong. But when you flip the script and you're thinking about what each character is doing, what their story and what their part in your greater adventure is, and all the rules and all the NPCs you're running, so it's okay to forget a rule sometimes. And honestly, as long as it's fun, as long as everybody at the table is having fun, what does it matter? You could be throwing magnets at the wall, and if everybody's having fun, hey, it's all for the better of it.
Because I mean, I maybe I'll take this. Yeah, I sort of take rules. I try and follow the rules as best I can, but I'm not a stickler for them. They're not. It's story first, then the rules, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it makes narratively sense, it like it's all about to me it's about the narrative. It's about if it's going to make like you just said with the kids and the if that makes narrative sense, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a GM that goes yes, but
well, that's why I think everyone should get a chance to run a game, even if it's like a small situation, because like just being able to plan a larger narrative and then open it up to have other people step in and be like, all right, this is how I'm going to change it. Like it just getting that perspective and that appreciation, like Shannon said, I think is so important. And like, I'm not saying everybody is going to like running a game or should always run a game, but I think just having a little bit of that experience it can go a very, very long way.
You know what it's like.
Agree.
Are you guys sure you can't hear that? Sorry, it's like so loud.
No, that must be really good.
He's like, I'm gonna tell him that you said that. For chat, my dad is fixing a door. I don't know why he's doing it right now, but he's like hammering on a door right outside my door. Anyway, sorry. Sorry. Good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are almost out of time. We've got about 5 minutes left. So what I would like to have everybody do is have the opportunity to just go around one more time, remind us of where we can find you online, if you stream or if you have a podcast or if you want to share your Twitter account or anything like that. And unfortunately, we did not get the chance to get to all of the questions that came in tonight. We had a few that just didn't have time for.
Sorry, we're long-winded.
Yeah, it's all your fault, David.
It is. Most everything is. I'm the DM.
No.
It's all my fault. No.
But it was as I always say, like this was a ton of fun. It's been so great having you all here. So I am going to I'm going to go reverse order from the direction we went last time. So James, I'm going to start with you. Remind us if you have either if you stream or anything like that, tell us where we can find you.
So you can find me on Twitch at obviously twitch.tv/JamesCorp. That's where I stream the shows that I do, or the games that I do, whatever you want to call it. I call them shows because it's sort of a show.
Yeah.
All the VODs go on YouTube, which is JamesCorp. You should be able to, if you go to my Twitch account, it's all like linked at the bottom. I'm on Twitter at JamesCorp TV. follow me there. I've become a bit more active on Twitter. I'm not very good at Twitter. I'm old and I don't understand it completely.
It's hard.
And it's so I'm getting better at like saying other stuff than just I'm going live. If you're interested in like different games and different genres, and come check me out. That's and I'm always looking for players, so I'm just plugging that right now.
Just FYI.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for staying. Is it now what, like 3 a.m. there?
It's sometime, yes.
Yeah.
It might start getting light soon.
Don't worry, time's a lie.
Time's a lie.
It really is.
Just like the cake.
It's all a construct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon.
Yeah, so I'm Shannon. You can find me on Twitter. Sometimes, no, I'm all over Twitter at sroby25. That's also my Instagram handle. I am a cast member over on Paradise RPG. We play Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. We have a couple other programs as well. And something that I forgot to plug at the beginning, I'm going to plug right now, David and I are actually going to be playing not this weekend, but next weekend in a charity stream with Waffles Maple Syrup and a couple other really cool people. And I'm so pumped. We were talking about it all day today, and we're still working out. What was that?
Who's it for?
Oh, charity is for Black Girls Code, which I'm really excited for. I'm all about supporting STEM and education, and just I'm so excited. So there's going to be a guessing game. Baby pictures, super fun. We're still ironing out the details, but we got into a discussion about baby pictures today, and now
why the baby pictures came up today.
Yep. So that's gonna be part of the donations and the charity. So love to see you there, 7 p.m. next Saturday, June 20th.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm definitely gonna try to be there.
Mm.
Let's see, Ryan, you're next.
Oh, I'm next. So I'm Ryan Mossbarger.
Oh no, actually, David, you were next, but that's okay.
Oh, no, Ryan, go.
I'm Ryan Mossbarger. I have a podcast that I do with a couple friends called DicePopuli. We're a 5e real play podcast where we switch the DMs every arc. One of us stops being a player, and then we DM, so you get kind of a different flavor of each of us as we go forward. We're doing that for almost a year now. It's doing all right. You can also find me at Ryan_MOSSB on Twitter, or for the official show Twitter at DicePopuli. But this was amazing. I had a lot of fun, and I'm glad I got to shout out stuff about RPGs for like 2 hours. This was amazing.
It's nice when you have a captive audience, though. So
It's pretty fun.
Thanks so much for coming on tonight. David, we will backtrack. Mike says we have to keep talking for 3 more hours.
All right, I need to hydrate.
In that case, All right. Well, my name is also Ryan. No, I'm just kidding. I just forgot. Oh,
you're David.
Okay, thank you. My name is
Orange Melon Face.
Orange Melon Face. If you find me on stream, come play games on Steam. Come play games with me. But my name is David. You can find me at David Tilstra on Twitter. I am the DM/GM for. I don't think that works in this. DM for From Afar Podcast. You can find From Afar at From Afar Podcast on Twitter. We also are a Dungeons and Dragons 5e actual play podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places. We have a Discord. Come find us on our Discord. I think we have a link on our Twitter. Like Shannon said, on the 20th, we're going to be doing a really cool stream with Waffles Maple Syrup. We're going to be playing pretty much all that the DM said. He's like, cool, make a character, but don't fall in love with them because they will die. And we're like, all right.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
So that'll be fun. And then we've got a couple other collaborations coming up. We got some really cool stuff with Discount Dungeons and Know Your Role coming up. Shannon, I was just talking to Sean earlier today about Pirates in Paradise, but that's coming up soon. So we got a bunch of stuff in the works. Keep an eye out. I'm sure you'll hear about it on the Twitter or Instagram or whatever, wherever you get your news. So that's us. Passing it back to you guys.
Back to you.
Back to you. That's
Back to you, studio.
Back to you, studio.
Well, thanks, Orange Melon Face.
Thank
And
you.
now in the news. And Chase, how about you?
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at TQLoudly. I am the GM on Another Path, which is another actual play 5th edition adventure. We kind of take a tone of Lord of the Rings meets It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That's amazing.
So if that
I love
if that juxtaposition sounds good for you, it's been pretty good for us for going on 3 years now. I also play Nehemiah on Imprinted Echoes, which is a cipher system actual play podcast set in the world of Numenera. I am also, we'll go through the other ones here, a producer on Shakespeare, which is a roundtable discussion podcast where we are going through the complete works of William Shakespeare, not just the play, the complete works of William Shakespeare, but like all of them.
wow.
And we're actually, if that sounds good for you, we're nearing in on the end there. And if you want to check that out, it is a really good time. Also, normally we record that all in the same space, but because of current events, we're all actually recording all in our own homes, and that means the audio quality took a nice little jump up too, because I can properly edit for the first time.
Nice.
But yeah, if that sounds great for you, that's a lot of fun. My wife does join me on that as well. That is the one way I've been able to kind of pull her into all of this. If you're curious about the other Ghostlight Media offerings, we do also have Zach and Griffin's Multiversal Pet Shop, which is an improv comedy podcast about two guys who own a pet shop that have everything from mimics to creatures from Numenera to if you think you could have it as a pet and shouldn't, they have it in stock.
That's amazing.
And then rounding us out is our newest offering, I Missed It, which is one of my co-hosts from Another Path and his wife are currently going to expand to other shows in the future, but currently going through Buffy. She watched it while it was current, and he never saw it. So they're going back through and seeing how original Buffy holds up.
Amazing.
Mostly pretty well.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
Can I ask
I
you a
may have been
question,
watching
Chase?
it very recently as well. I love Buffy.
It's very good.
What was that, David?
Do you have in your Lord of the Rings meets Philadelphia?
Yes.
Do you have the gang makes a fellowship episode?
It accidentally happens. but
Okay,
yes.
cool.
I mean, but isn't that D&D parties though? Isn't it like just one of those things where they just wander, they're doing a thing and then they end up in a place they shouldn't be, and then it's like, well, we're here now. What are we going to do with
Let's
this?
kill some goblins.
I expect the perfect mixture of Gandalf, and Charlie.
Gandalf.
Ooh.
Gandalf and Charlie.
Gandalf
Charlie
and
as
Charlie.
Gandalf would be Gandalf, but
I haven't really thought about it, but we kind of have that. We do kind of have that.
That's amazing.
the wild
Anybody who's
card.
listening that knows all of those references probably knows which player that is.
Mhm. That's awesome.
Total Party Chill says Gand AF.
Gandalf.
Gandalf. Charlie the Gray.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
Hi, Total
That-
Party Chill.
Yes. Well,
How's it
thank
going?
you so much for coming in and rating us. We actually are just getting ready to wrap up, but we are super excited that you're here. And if you haven't had the chance to check them out, they are a ton of fun to watch. So definitely give a check out to Total Party Chill sometime. We've had a couple of their folks on this show before, and it's always a good time. It's always a good time. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. And so I am Gamer Mom Luna. Everybody here knows me as Luna. And this is the How I Nerd channel. We have 3 actual play campaigns, soon to be 4 on this channel. Sunday nights we have our Tabletop Tavern 1, which is our flagship show, Pathfinder 1st Edition campaign. Monday nights we have our Savage Worlds campaign, which is Neural Nexus 0, set in 1980s retro wave Boston. It's a very cool, very talented cast, very, very fun show. So if you even remotely like cyberpunk, definitely give it a check out. Tuesday nights right now, we take the night off, but we've got some fun stuff coming down the pike for Tuesdays. Wednesday nights, we have Tabletop Tavern 2 because we couldn't think of a better name for it. And that is our second Pathfinder
Back
campaign.
with a vengeance.
Pretty much. Our logo is literally the same thing with a giant 2 at the bottom of it.
Good.
Mike
Saves a
says,
lot of
listen,
money on
I'm not
graphic design."
creative.
You don't need to be creative when there's math.
Yeah.
Right.
When there's the number
We
two.
counted up to 2. It was big.
Did it again.
Yeah. And then Thursday nights, right now, we have Tales from the Tavern. We start every night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And this is our roundtable discussion where we hang out. We talk about TTRPGs and all things nerdy and everything that, you know, follows out of all of those conversations. And we really enjoy, you know, getting to have some good laughs and share some funny stories. And yeah, it's a great time. So we are going to be rating another member of the Storytellers Union. If you haven't heard of the Storytellers Union, that is our stream team that the How I Nerd channel started. We are solely channels that are based on TTRPG content. So we are all here to kind of help build each other up, give each other tech support, all that good stuff. So if you are a TTRPG streamer on Twitch and you're interested, feel free to click the link that's down below. Smash that like button. No, Mike's gonna fire me after the show for that. So
Done.
and or you know, you can reach out to me on Discord and we'll get you the information on the Storytellers Union. So we're gonna go show some love to Indigo Chameleon, who is another member of the Storytellers Union. They are currently streaming a D&D campaign. They have only 15 viewers, so let's go show them some love. And yeah, it'll be great. Thank you all so much for coming to hang out tonight. And
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great
Good
night,
morning.
everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Go to bed, James.
Oh, Mum.
Yeah, go to bed.
You're not my mom.